Both Chinese philosophy and Western philosophy are the pursuit of wisdom. Taoism, for example, is commonly known as a religion, but in fact it is mostly philosophical thoughts. In Western origin, philosophy is rigorous inference which has a clearly defined area of study. Those Chinese schools of so-called philosophy, in ancient times, were never categorized into an area of studies until a Japanese scholar, Nishi Amane, translated the word philosophy into two characters in the 19th century. Categorization is a strong tool, but can also become a limit. When you enter a system of philosophy, or perhaps anyone else's language system, it would be better to know how certain concepts and words are differently defined. This works better when the languages are more alike, but what if you need to explain complicated concepts? Well, the word concept itself never existed in another language that is developed in a drastically different way. Both Old Chinese and Modern Chinese are hieroglyphic, unlike Latin compared to its Egyptian hieroglyphic root. Those Chinese characters are mostly a depiction of the visual appearance of objects. As a result, when it comes to abstract or more complex ideas, more characters are put together into a single one. The mindset of Chinese conveying ideas is using images. That is the reason philosophy in Old Chinese usually explains abstract ideas through metaphors all the time. Whereas, when the Egyptian hieroglyphic writing evolved into Latin, deeper structures of characters were taken and recombined based on pronunciations to represent new meanings. Based on the history and the invention of the word conceptum, which is word concept in Latin, they showed a more structuralist way of thinking that extracts information of characteristics, then forges into new words for communications. The Latin language root helps to obtain a more analytical mindset. When talking about something that exists, we often neglect to question existence itself. If an apple exists, you may immediately ask, where? There must be a space to contain it. More precisely, it is better to use to be or being to describe the status. The interpretation now is, apple is. It does not mention anything about space. Heidegger used the word nicht, which is roughly translated into the word nothing, to describe the field or the background that supports the apple to be there. The sentence, something is there, has three parts. Removing the location, it is now, something is. If to ask, what is being, you would answer it as, being is XYZ. Yet notice the repetition there. Being is XYZ is actually being, be, XYZ. Heidegger's study of being is challenging to understand because it is difficult to talk about it with the way of thinking in common languages. Heidegger introduced his own logic of language by using words with certain definitions. I found it easier to comprehend with the Chinese language's mindset, since the word be in Chinese is usually a noun. It has a layer of meaning of stored as a stationary status, whereas the word being is a potential movement of becoming. In scientific methods of observation and experiments, human interference is reduced to the minimum, analyzing things in an objective, subjective way. It makes it harder to understand Heidegger's being by excluding ourselves to see being as an object for analysis. The present of the apple, this piece of information, is eventually related back to the person who is there thinking. The topic of being is only and has to be revealed when the existents themselves make interactions with the world. Let's say there is a cameraman who recorded this video in the environment you are looking at. Without it, the environment is meaningless. Without the audience, the scene is only meaningful to the cameraman itself. Thus, the cameraman and its actions constitute the process of revealing the status of being. That is why it is difficult to think out of the box while we cannot exclude the factor of ourself at the same time. When Heidegger used the word nicht for the field that contains, it is a coincidence to see similar thoughts from ancient Eastern philosophy. That probably explains the reason Heidegger spent his late life studying Tao Te Ching, the foundational text of Taoism. The example Heidegger talks about is that of the essence of a wine pot having its walls and bottom to hold the liquid. That is from the practical perspective. While in scientific observations, all of the room and space don't matter. It is just the exchange of particles. In the metaphysical perspective, the walls of the pot create the emptiness for the ability to have. The meaning of the pot is revealed at the moment that the wine is poured. The molecules, the emptiness, and the walls of the pot are generalized by the action of pouring to reveal the relation of human interaction with all the things from nature to produce wine, no matter how the wine is consumed. You may have heard the verse in Taoism, "When nothing is done, nothing is left undone." The undone in the verse are in fact two characters, un and done. The prefix un means nothing in Chinese, which is what I found quite similar to Heidegger's nicht. Lao Tzu, the author, gave an example for his nicht with a room. A room is covered by roof, floor, and surrounded by walls. Those structures are crucial, so why not enhance them? By increasing the thickness of the walls, the room becomes stronger and more emphasized. However, as the enhancement continues, the room eventually disappears, becoming a chunk of block. The essence of the room is revealed by the emptiness between the walls, the being of the physical structures, and the undone of not overemphasizing the walls. The emptiness, which is the actual space of the room, is Taoism's nicht. In this term, the walls are not creating the actual space of the room, the nicht is. The existence of nicht in return gives the opposite of its meaning, which is being. The yin-yang symbol from Taoism perhaps can also represent the collision of being and nicht. Yet, is the black really the nicht and the white can only be its opposite? I guess that is interchangeable depending on what color of the bigger background is behind the symbol.